So we'll say like. Oh, yeah. Okay, let's say. Yes.
Oh, no, it's automatic single timer. I saw it spinning around. Usually there's someone running remote and pointing at whoever's
It is 7 p.m., so the chair will call this meeting of the Rusk County Board of Supervisors to order. And the first order of business will be roll call, so if you will touch president on here.
Oh, you're special.
So we have everyone present, so we have a quorum to 19 present, so we have quorum to conduct the business at hand. So the next will be the invocation, which will be given by Jonathan Undershoots, and the pledge of allegiance, which will be led by Tony Hauser.
Heavenly Father, pray your blessings upon this meeting and your wisdom, your guidance, and help us to follow that. We also pray your hand upon Chairman Rashsack, Lord, for healing and covering his body, Lord. Many more years of health and prosperity. Pray in Jesus' name, amen.
allegiance to the flag of the United States of America, and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
If we could have the approval of the minutes of the August 22nd meeting. Motion by Mike Raven, second by Tom Kudu. Is there any additions, corrections, or questions, comments on the minutes? If not, you can proceed to vote.
Mr. Raven, Mr. Goodis?
Okay, the votes are all in, the 19 yes, so the minutes are approved unanimously. Next, we will have public comment. Anyone from the public wishes to speak?
For over a year, I've been attending the committee meetings and full board meetings, all in the name of transparency and open government. And even when the public shows up and tells you their concerns and wishes for building projects, or the public calls you and emails you in large numbers or signs petitions, this board has no intention of listening to the voters in this county. I hope you will seriously consider the bid before you tonight. It is considerably low compared to the next bid and much lower than most others. And if you choose it, time will tell if it was a good idea, as I know your decision is to tear down. But I will wait and see what kind of change orders come in and where the cost of this truly ends up. Because this seems to be, as I say, quite a low bid. And it seems highly suspect to be a local company, as we've had numerous bids put in by various regions in the Midwest. It's also disappointing that on August 28th, the county was informed that it was in the running for the old hospital to be used for the veterans housing. And yet the county kept that a secret. Back on August 28th, the email was received. And when I asked for the open records for that email, I was told that there was not one. But when I said that I could wait for the record from the state of Wisconsin, I was sent that email the next morning. The public wanted you to consider this, and you ignored their pleas. I am dismayed that this board considers ARPA funding for things that it has been accepting them for. We have a department tonight that says it has its money in its budget to pay for an item over 5 years, but there's supposed financial roadblocks. So the answer seems to be ARPA all the time. I'm not opposed to new tasers. I'm opposed to using ARPA when there's money in their budget, and it can be built into their budget over time. What else can you all fix at the fairgrounds? There's got to be something else we can still do in the next year to use ARPA money. And I hope you all figure out how that we're going to get in the new building, the building with this lockdown and the door change. Because next Monday, the door for the public is changing. And I came here tonight for an open meeting at 6 o'clock. And I came in that door like I always do, and I could not get across. And so instead of going to my car, I walked around, and the door is still locked on the other side. And what happens? I have to shake on the door to get into an open public meeting that I was locked out of. I don't so much have a problem with this door being locked, because I can get buzzed in and I understand it. But the first time I came here for a meeting after the fact, and we were locked down, I did not know, oh, just push the button. But what are we gonna do when we're over there and every meeting is here except for those small conference room meetings, which there's more than I would like, but it's not very many. They're here in this room. I hope you seriously get it figured out. Because when I come here wanting transparency and open government and I am locked out of a meeting, you better believe that's the #1 thing I'm gonna go after you people for. Thank you.
Thank you. Anyone else wish to speak? Anyone else? If not, we will move on to discussion and possible motion, approval of the 2023 and 2028 county library plan. I believe you all have that in your packets. We have a motion by Mike Raven, a second by Jerry Miller to approve the plan. Any other discussion on that issue? Any questions, any discussion? If not, you may vote at the present time. The vote is unanimous, so the library plan is approved. Thank you, ladies, for coming.
Thank you.
Number 2 is the creation of the security camera policy. Motion by Jerry Miller, second by John Caleb. And I think I'll turn this over to Ashley.
So, ARPA, we are paying to upgrade our security cameras in the courthouse, and we are adding lots of cameras, as you have probably noticed as you've been walking around the halls. We have better eyes now on what's happening outside as well. Out of the Safety and Security Committee, it was suggested that we have a security camera policy in place. So I drafted one with the intent that our safety and security is handled by the sheriff's office, so the security cameras should fall under the jurisdiction of the sheriff's
be set up that it will, hold data for a certain, fairly lengthy period of time that we have to go back on something?
Yes, so we're required to keep the data for event plus 120 days. So 121 days. Rich and I are working on a resolution to change our ordinance to reflect that.
Any other questions?
What's it do?
Jonathan's asking to, here, he's, requesting to amend.
Yes.
Jonathan?
So under three, A, B, C, D, and E, C kind of references the property committee, but the other ones kind of cut the property committee out. So I'd like to have a 3F that says 3A through 3A will be conducted in coordination and upon approval of the property committee, so that we got more oversight, more eyes on it.
Can you repeat that one more time, please?
Yes, so I want to add a 3F that says 3A through 3A will be conducted in coordination and upon approval of the property committee. 3A through 3E, 3F references 3A through 3E.
Okay, would you read the amendment then as?
So Mr. Entreshoots is proposing an amendment of 3F, that 3A through 3D will be conducted in coordination and upon approval of the property committee. 3E?
Yeah, 3E, yeah.
E? Okay, 3E. 3A through 3E will be conducted in coordination and upon approval of the property committee.
We got a motion by John Undershoots and a second by Tony Hauser on the amendment. So are there any questions on the amendment? Any other questions on the amendment? If not, you can vote at the present time. Vote is 19 yes, so that the amendment passes. So now on the resolution as, or the policy as amended. Any questions on the policy itself?
I do, but I can't request to speak. Register.
Hang on, I'm getting, there you go. Now you can.
Go ahead. Go.
Is this gonna be live streamed then up to dispatch?
Yes, it's monitored in dispatch, it's monitored in the sheriff's office, Lori Garsinger, the clerk of court's office, the general clerk of court's office, and then Judge Barna as well has access to a live stream of a couple of the cameras for her safety.
Well, that's what I'm saying, how many of these? You get a full clustered screen, they're gonna be spending more time doing that than they will be dispatching.
The expectation is that they're not gonna be consistently monitored, that's
Okay.
bolded and italicized. Yep, so dispatch will have the cameras up to monitor as they can, but if an incident were to occur, they can key up whatever camera they need.
And then is there some way, cause I know they talked about panic button years ago, where the panic button tell them exactly which camera to look at?
I don't know about that, but there is a button where they can lock down all of our doors.
Okay, that might be too late, that's what I'm saying. Get the camera where the panic button was pushed, so dispatch knows exactly where they're sending.
Yeah, this was just about cameras.
Okay.
I don't think panic buttons were part of the scope of the project.
Okay.
Any other comments or questions? Any others? If not, we can vote at the present time. Vote is 18 yes and 1 no. So the policy Moving on to number 3, which is the awarding of the bid for the old hospital nursing home asbestos abatement and demolition project. A motion by Tony Hauser and a second by Terry Ledway.
So the motion, you actually have to make that. The motion should be to award the bid to the lowest bidder, Haas, correct?
That's correct, yes.
And is that the second by?
Second by Terry Ledway. Yes.
Okay, so the county put out for bid, we gave 3 options to the bidders. They could bid on asbestos abatement only, they could bid on demolition only, or they could bid on both demolition and asbestos abatement. In our bid document, we stated that preference would be given to a contractor who could take care of both. So the county received 15 different bids from 14 companies. The lowest of those bids was Haas, and they did bid both asbestos abatement and demolition, and they came in at $990,000. They did, you can see, Connie has put the bid in the packet there. And just to clarify, because this was a little point of confusion at the property committee, they are backfilling with sand, and that is something that we asked for in the bid document as well.
Tony?
Yeah, I'd just like to comment on that last remark. They said it, but it's not stipulated in the sheet. What I'm saying is, what I would like to see is that added to the contract and have them initial it. The fact that they're gonna stand.
If you award the bid to these, whoever you do, if that's what you choose to do, then we'll enter into a contract that's more definite than this. This is just the bid, and then we'll enter into a contract that's gonna have more definite timelines, et cetera.
John? So I think you kind of answered our question about what was their time frame for having completing the work.
I believe that, the facilities manager stated that as soon as Haas would get the okay from the board, that they would issue their 10-day intent, and the work would begin this fall, early
So
winter.
that's pretty soon.
But the RFP, I believe, required everything to be done by, October 2024, so a year from now, or 14 months from now.
I think most of the projection was to be done, most of them felt that they'd have it done by June of next year.
Correct.
So, that's 8 months early,
Tom?
7 months.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman. I'm just curious as far as the contract from Haas, and their bid. Now, are they held to that bid? Are they held to that amount?
Correct.
They are.
Yes.
So there would not be any incidentals or anything else. This is what we would pay them.
Correct.
The complete demolition would be, and then also adding the sand.
Correct.
Okay. So that's clear.
Mike?
Yes, Mr. Chair. To award this bid here to Haas for the tear down. I get a lot of questions around the community because I live in the community. And there's a lot of questions that those people in the community ask me that I have no answers for. Because I was privileged to be in the different meetings and things like that. What I would like to do and suggest is either you have a public hearing or this county board meets with the city council and try to get on the same page. Now, we had 2 letters from the city there this week, all the board members, asking to consider 1 proposal or 2 proposals. We also sent the packet into the state for the veterans home, possibly the veterans home. Those are all in the work shed, and then all of a sudden, hey, tonight, here comes the bid award for Haas to tear the building down. I don't have enough information to vote on this thing as a county board member and a representative in my community. I don't have all the facts and figures. Some people on some committees do, you know what? That's all fine and dandy, but there's 19 of us. And I just want to bring this up. make sure it's on the public record. Rich, if we award the bid tonight, is that the start of the demolition, or what's the deal?
Correct, that's what we'll enter into a contract and they'll proceed as they're able to, or.
I'm sure I'm not the only one in this community or this room tonight that has questions about the facility and the future of the facility and all the rest of it. I know we've talked about it for a year and a half or 2 years, but you know what? A lot of this information are bits and pieces going out into the community, and I don't think it's fair to any one of us 19 to sit here tonight with questions on their mind and vote yes or no. So I just wanna bring it up, make sure it's on the record, and, you know, I hope we come to some kind of resolution on this thing. You know, I know we got a time limit for the tearing down, but we also got some proposals here to maybe keep it up, so at no cost to the county, so let's, I think we, you know, I'm not saying to table it, cause it is a bit, but I'm saying that we need more information. Thank you.
David?
Thank you, Mr. Chairman. I have a question to start with. First of all, was there a time frame within the bid that, in other words, we have to accept it before a certain time?
It was 30 days. Most of the bids, I can't say with certainty, but most of them said they needed to be accepted within 30 days.
What's that?
They needed to be accepted within 30 days.
That was a condition of the RFP or just?
Of anybody who submitted the proposal, they put a timeline in which they wanted accepted.
So we had 30 days.
Ours was 30.
30 days to consider it?
Right.
So, thinking about this, just kind of a story came to my mind. So it goes kind of like, well, the people said, we really need workforce housing in this community. And the board said, well, we all got houses, so I guess that's not a good idea. And then the State Department of Veterans Affairs said, there's a real need for a facility for homeless veterans. And the board sort of said, well, I'm not a homeless veteran and I don't know any, so that's not a very good idea. But then we said, well, let's blow it up. And we'll use somebody else's money to blow it up. And everybody, some people at least, are responding, well, that's a good idea. It defies reason that we're fundamentally ignoring what opportunities have been presented to us, and I don't know that anyone even took the bother to respond to the letters that we received this week. If they did, they certainly didn't include, whoever responded didn't include the rest of the board in their response, so I don't know. So apparently we just, even when people make proposals or give us suggestions, we just ignore them. And I'm very troubled by that, and I hope that people in the community are troubled by it as well, because if nothing else, we have used a flawed process to arrive at this conclusion. I'm definitely opposed to this proposal. I will vote against it, and I certainly am troubled by how this outcome will affect the taxpayers and the people of the community when there are so many needs that are not being met and we have an opportunity to meet them and we're ignoring them. So thank you very much.
Anyone else like to comment? Phil?
Was there any contact made with the Veterans Service Administration? What have we got back from them?
Well,
There was discussion with the, I know,
They have a letter in the packet.
very last
I
page.
discussed that with them.
Very back page.
You asked for information.
information, and we sent information and he never responded back with anything. So we can't wait indefinitely for him to respond.
If I recall, there was a conversation with the Veteran Service Officer, and he was unaware of that request by the DOA. Am I correct, Jeremy?
Mr. Chairman, I'm not certain. I don't know that I talked to Eric about any of that, so I don't know if he was aware or not aware. Sorry, I can check with him.
Tony Hauser.
Yes, we went through this before, when we made the decision to tear the facility down. We had a presentation from Impact 7, and that was voted down. And then we voted to demolish the building, tear it down, and dispose of it. Now this business tonight has nothing to do with our earlier decision. Tonight is, we were seeking bids, and we got a bid, and we got a bid as proposed, and it was satisfactory, and I think we're obligated to actually execute that bid.
Dan?
Comment, I spoke with the Veteran Service Officer as well, and according to him, we basically don't have any people that are in need of housing, veterans here. Chippewa's got 8 empty beds they can't fill. If they've got empty beds, we don't have any, why would we build a facility for that? Why wouldn't we be just as well off to tear it down, put up a brand spanking new facility for something, but not for that? Originally, when they first started talking about this a long time ago, what they wanted to do was have a thing for drawing blood and for different things for the veterans. They travel from Park Falls and all over, all the way to Rice Lake, to have blood drawn and their blood cleaned. And then back through Ladysmith and then back home. And it was said way back then that why can't we just have that facility here along with some other ones, instead of now all of a sudden it turned it into a bedpan society, and you got people that are on drugs and maybe not even on drugs, but on something. They're gonna be sitting along the walls at Walmart, and I think all it's gonna do is increase problems for our law enforcement if we continue with that direct line of thinking. I just think there's gotta be something else that can be done. I'm with Tony, I mean, I think it's gotta come down too. And put up something nice, and so people have a nice river to look at and everything, which that hasn't even come to light. There's one other thing, and then I'll shut up, because I haven't said much ever since I've been here. It used to happen a lot working for the city when we have bids come out. Well, here it says Haas. Well, of course Haas got the bid. He's the closest one, probably. It'd be nice to know where all these other folks are from. They used to holler at me because Russ Thompson got all the bids here in town. Well, why shouldn't he? He's only 3 blocks down the street. So he didn't have all that preparation for everything before they started any work. I think we got more to look at here. I agree we can do with what we want, and Tony says we already got it, the way it is, but, it'd be a good lesson to be learned is to get all the information, not just most of it.
Phil?
Thank you, Mr. Chairman. I would just like to make a comment that I've talked to a lot of people out in the community, and even before when the city was telling us that it was gonna cost 3.1 to 4.6 million to tear down, the majority of people I talked to wanted the building torn down, even if it would have cost some out of the county's pocket. And now we have an opportunity to not cost county taxpayers, because this, as far as I know, and Jamie can correct me if I'm wrong, we have enough money in the line down fund, which Marshfield gave us, that we have to get back if we don't use to, cover that whole bid. So, I think I maybe had one person who didn't want it tore down, but probably 20-some people that said tear down. Thank you.
Any other comments? Any other questions?
Again? I'm not sure that, and I think I would appreciate it if you would clarify it, that we are not obligated to accept any bid.
Oh, correct.
So, I mean, obviously, we would have some, legal implications if we chose not to accept the lowest bid. We'd have to have some.
Right, you'd have to accept the lowest responsible bidder.
But, yes, but, you know, we can reject all the bids and rebid it if we wanted to.
Correct.
So, you know, just so everybody understands, or at least I think we should all understand, that we're not required to approve it. If we were, we wouldn't be here approving it, because we'd already have approved it by being required to approve it. So I don't think that's the point. But I'm just dismayed, that it would be my understanding as before, that even if we use only a portion of the wind down fund, we would be giving back whatever's left over of the wind down fund. And if we sold the property for more than the amount of the wind down fund that was used to demolish it, that would have to go back to Marshfield as well. That's the terms of the agreement. So we have to get a pretty substantial cost, or a price for the building before we could actually not break even. That's something to consider.
Phil?
Thank you, Mr. Chairman. I just wanted to comment that if the wind down funds are not used within a certain period of time, we lose them. So if we don't spend the wind down funds, the taxpayer, and our time runs up, the taxpayers could be liable for the whole thing.
And that would be, what, May 1st, 2025?
No, December 31st, 2024. That's what it's
2 years from the date.
No, it's March or April of 2025, the exact date. I'd have to pull.
2 years from the day that they moved out.
Correct. Correct.
And they have also indicated a willingness to extend that deadline if we request it. Correct?
They've expressed potentially, yes.
Well, there was a letter to that effect.
Correct, right.
Anyone else wish to comment?
Mr. Chairman, call for a question.
If there are no further questions, then we can vote at the present time. The vote is 13 yes and 6 no, so the motion passes. Okay, we'll move on to the resolutions. Number 4 is approving the 2024 general employee wage adjustment. The motion to adopt. Motion by Mike Raven, second by Jim Meyer. So either Ashley or Jamie can give us some cost analysis on this.
So the resolution is to move all of the employees up one step on the wage scale, unless they're already red circled at the top of the wage scale. And the fiscal impact is about $100,000. So this is about a 1.25% increase for every each of the general
Any questions? Mike?
Mr. Chair, Jamie, do all the board members have a copy of that wage scale?
Yes, it, should have been attached to the resolution, but it's still the same scale that was part of the initial implementation of the wage study.
I know when it first came out, then we modified a bunch of positions.
Really only like two that had, moved a grade.
Only two?
Yep.
Okay, very good, yeah. Cause you should have an updated wage scale.
Yeah, I did, I can email it out to you.
Maybe just send an email out so we can just take a look at it.
Actually, are you trying to get to the grid?
To the resolution that Jamie did.
Can you see that, Mike?
Yeah, it's.
I was gonna say Superman couldn't read that.
Mike, can you see it back here? Okay, Mike, it's a little closer.
Oh, yeah, I should take a look back there.
Yeah, that's.
But you send it in the email too?
Yeah, I'll
Yeah.
send it to you in email.
It's a lot easier with my magnifying glass.
Everyone get their questions answered?
Got one question, how many are in that, what was it, 21, step 21, employees are in that?
It's just two current.
Any other questions? If not, you can vote at the present time. Vote is 19 yes, so it's unanimous and the resolution is adopted. Number 5 is the change in job description for the public health nurse. Need a motion for that. A motion by Mark Schmidt and a second by Phil Schneider. Discussion, I'll have Ashley, give us some background here.
Can I call on Jeremy Jacobs to help me out here?
Yeah, just very quickly, Lisa Wissick provided her notice to us in the public health department. And so she did several months ago. She's gonna retire January 12th of 2024. And as a result, we wanted to change the job description to open it up a touch because any nurse or LPN or RN can do that reproductive health and preparedness job. And so we wanted to open it up to cast a bigger net for the pool for that to happen. Our committee, our board, and personnel approved for us to bring a person on board to have a couple months worth of training with Lisa before she departs our department. And so we updated the job description, and there was no change in the GDQ. And so we feel confident that we're gonna be able to cast a net. We already have 2 applicants for this position, and we'll go from there. Short and sweet, that's what that was, short and sweet.
Anybody have any questions on the issue? If not, you can vote at the present time. 18 yes, so the resolution is adopted.
Thank you.
We'll move on to number 6, is appointing the Rusk County Human Resource Manager. Need a motion to adopt. A motion by Terry Gusell and a second by John Undershoots. Discussion, and I'll have Ashley take it. You might be calling on Jeremy too.
I will. Well, I'll introduce the resolution. So this resolution came out of the Personnel Committee. Jeremy Jacobs is currently our Executive Director of Health and Human Services, and he approached a couple of us here at the county with an interesting idea. He is looking at becoming our Human Resources Manager, and I'll let him speak a little more to this. But what the recommendation from the Personnel Committee is that Mr. Jacobs make a lateral transfer from Executive Director in HHS to our HR Manager, which would place him at a step 12 at $44.89 an hour, and there would be no changes to his benefits that he currently has. He'd stick at the same amount of PTO, he'd stick with, everything would stay the same. And I will let him speak to why he feels this is the right move.
So, a couple things. I had the opportunity to meet with the Personnel Committee. What Ashley said is very true. I told this group several times that I'm very, this county is very important to me. These positions within our department and our county system are very important. At this time, though, I respectfully am going to say that I want to divert from the resolution that is before you. I think I'm going to read a statement that I need to read, but I think there needs to be more discussion about what exactly is expected of this position. I think it needs to be discussed as to, what the 19 county board members want the HR position to be, and how effectively somebody can do that. And the reason I say that, and kind of diverting here 11th hour, I'm sorry about that, is that as a department head, we've been without, first of all, we got a taste of what HR can be, and then that person left. And so for several months now, we have not had HR, after you get a little taste in your mouth about how effective and how valuable that can be for a county of our size with the kind of employees that we have. And so, that being said, as the recruitments kept going out, and as a department head, I would get the hey, we're doing an ad hoc committee, and we're going to interview some people. We've got 4 or 5 people that we're gonna interview. Each and every time you're hopeful. And, 4 different times, it came back with, this, that, or the other thing didn't work out, and as a result, we're gonna cast another net. And so as a department head, I can only speak for myself, but maybe the other department heads feel the same way, is that as that occurred, it was like, okay, well, maybe I could do it. Okay, I care about human services, my heart is in human services. The Personnel Committee was, I look at Mr. Gusell because he was very adamant about the fact that my heart is in human services, because it is. However, for the greater good of the county, gosh, maybe I could do it. So I started talking to people, and I talked to Ashley. She got tired of listening to me, and so said, well, let's maybe put something together. So we had a conversation on that kind of stuff. I really think that there needs to be a chance to go back and have a discussion about what really are we looking for here. Is it an HR manager? Is it a person that is a generalist? Is it somebody, what do we want them to do? What do we, because obviously we can't find somebody that can walk in the door and is all-knowing of HR, and that's the part that scares me. Love to do the job, I think I could probably handle the job, but the learning curve, I think, is gonna be significant. And so, as a result, I'm just gonna read this quick and then we can talk about it. Rusk County created the HR manager position in order to bolster our supporting of staff while leveraging a consistent approach to personnel matters. While this position is responsible for a wide variety of tasks, our county benefits from having a point person operating effectively within the framework of HR principles. I feel like we have just scratched the surface as to what HR can do for Rusk County. We need to continue evolving recruitment and retention strategies, promoting a progressive workforce, to providing a safe and welcoming work environment, to maximize employee growth through training, all while assuring accountability and mitigating risk. This position is an important component to having a well-rounded team. And so as I drafted that for tonight, the discussion was, okay, what do you bring to the table? What are the challenges? I've highlighted those things. I respectfully, at this point in time, would wanna have some more conversation with Ashley and the personnel committee as to what really we're looking for here from an HR. And if that could potentially be me, I'll come back and see you another night. Maybe we need to take a better look at what is exactly our job description, what are we asking this person to do, and what are you, as 19 county board members, gonna be responsible for, and what are you gonna be happy with out of an HR department, because it's important. So thank you for listening.
I think,
It would be in order, if, unless you guys wanna continue to talk, but it would probably be in order to make the motion, refer this back to the personnel committee.
so we have a motion by.
Okay, so we can, why don't we amend?
Somebody,
Yeah, somebody, I think if it hits amend button,
Yeah, I would.
and then do motion to refer back to committee. I think is how you do it.
Back to personnel.
Correct.
why don't we just, a motion to refer to personnel,
Right.
Anything on it.
I have John
refer
Caleb.
back to personnel.
That I think-
We got a motion by John
Get it?
Caleb and a second by Tom Kudo.
Would it be appropriate just that the motion states at the request of Mr. Jacobs? So people in the community looking at it wondering why we're postponing a decision, so that they would understand that we're doing so because he asked us to, rather than, would we had any reservations or concerns about it?
That's completely up to you guys. Again, it's not necessary. You guys could choose to pursue the motion despite what he said, but that's.
Mr. Caleb, he's making the motion.
I would put in here, per request, Mr. Jacobs.
Okay, the motion was to refer back to the personnel committee
By request of Mr. Jacobs.
at the request of Mr. Jacobs. Any other discussion on that? If not, you can vote at the present time. Vote is unanimous, so the resolution will be referred back to. And we'll move on to, number 7, modification of vehicle regulations ordinances. We have a motion to adopt, we have a motion by Jerry Miller, and a second by Jim Rodriguez. You certainly may.
Okay, alright, so this is a resolution that came out of the Forestry Committee, last week. It's a very simple change, and we would like to align our ordinances with state guidelines, which is to require headgear or helmets up to the age of 18 rather than 15.
We're advised by DNR to do it, or otherwise that puts us at risk.
Any other discussion? If not, you can vote at the present time. Vote is 19 yes, so unanimous, so the resolution is adopted. Move on to number 8, which is a modification of designation of park and forest areas. Motion to adopt. Motion by Terry himself. Second by Phil Ryder. Any discussion? You wanna handle that too?
Sure, Phil, will you help me a little bit with this one?
I'll try.
Okay, so this is another resolution out of the Forestry Committee. This is cleaning up one of our ordinances. So there were a lot of outdated, we have a lot more landings and campgrounds than we did when this ordinance first went through. So Jared and his team went through and added those in, removed a couple things like Lake Mickey Waterfowl and Picnic Area, Hawkins Milk Pond. And also, if you scroll down to section 3480, here at A, that opens up the
goes back so far, the pavilion at Murphy Dam wasn't even on there. So, needed updating.
Any other questions, any comments? If not, you can vote at the present time. The vote is 19 yes, unanimous, so the resolution is adopted. Moving on to number 9, designating American Rescue Plan Act funds to be used for internal Rusk County project number 4. Motion to that. A motion by Tony Hauser, second by Jim Meyer. Ashley.
Okay, so the sheriff's office is looking to upgrade their tasers. This went through property and they originally proposed upgrading to the taser 7s for an amount of about $55,000. They then came back to finance and asked if they could upgrade to the taser 10s. Those are the latest models on the market and they are the most accurate. They have the best contact and they hope to keep them in use for the next 10 years. So it just would make sense to have the latest model. So in 10 years, likely they would be worth the most on trade-in. So what we are asking for in this resolution is $55,000 from ARPA funds. The additional cost, and that was the cost for the taser 7s. They came back asking for the taser 10s at an additional cost of $8,945.25. That $8,945.25 will come out of their budget for this year. So again, $55,000 out of ARPA, $8,945.25 out of sheriff and jail budget.
John, undershoots.
They're gonna be under budget for this year, so they have extra money in the budget.
They didn't have the full $55,000 in their budget for this year.
No, the $8,000 extra money that they said they come out of their budget.
Oh, yes, I mean, they did have that in their budget for this year as far as being under for the entire year. Likely not, as they've had quite a few vacancies that have resulted in overtime.
So right now, they're projected to be over budget for the year without spending $8,000. That's all I have.
Phil?
Thank you, Mr. Chairman. I'd just like to make the comment that in, talking with Phil Rusk about this, the current tasers, they have a less than a 50% success rate, and the taser 7s would have about an 85% success rate. So the taser 7s are quite a bit higher than the current tasers. Now, as far as the taser 10s, there's not enough information out about them to probably know how much more than that 85 you get out of those. But at least as far as getting the taser 7s, I would say, they get themselves in a situation and your first option is to use something non-lethal. What if the non-lethal thing doesn't work? Your next option is to use something lethal for us. You know, it might be. And I guess that's kind of what sold me on the need for this as much as, you know, the next thing, if this doesn't work, it's pretty bad.
Okay, Tom?
Thank you, Mr. Chairman. Correct me if I'm wrong, but didn't the Sheriff's Department originally say that they would take this out of their budget over like a 5-year period?
They did, but they didn't understand how the accounting for that would actually work. They were thinking more on a cash basis, and if they order the tasers and they have the tasers in 2023, that is a 2023 expense. Just because the vendor is saying you can pay for it over 5 years doesn't mean that the expense can be booked over 5 years. We have the tasers in 2023, it's a 2023 expense. It's a current measurement focus.
The whole amount.
Correct. So by doing this, we can reduce their future budgets, you know, buy that $13,000 a year, whatever they were planning on using for the tasers, and just not allow them to budget for that, certainly do that.
Thank you.
Anyone else wish to speak? Anyone else? If not, you can vote at the present time. Vote is 17 yes and 2 no. So the resolution is adopted. Move on to number 10, designating American Rescue Plan Act funds to be used for internal West County projects. Number 5. Motion to adopt. Motion by Tony Hauser. Second by Dan Goodes. Discussion.
So there was originally $90,000 allocated for the grandstand rehab, which we were expecting to just kind of cover, you know, patching the concrete, you know, sealing it and everything. But in order to maintain the integrity of the sealing and the patching, it makes the most sense to put in some steel bleachers rather than the old wooden ones, because once you drill into that concrete, then the integrity of it is no longer there. So there's about $40,000 left from the $290 that was allocated, but the cost to put in the steel bleachers is about $90,000. So we're asking to allocate another $55,000 up to, we don't anticipate using quite all of that, to completely upgrade the seating grandstands as well.
Wedbeck.
They're not steel, they're aluminum.
Aluminum, I'm sorry.
Anyone else wish to speak? Anyone else? David.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman. You might be interested.
I'm sorry.
That's fine. Oh, go ahead. You're on a roll.
Very interested in knowing that what other counties are doing with ARPA funds. Some counties are actually using some of their ARPA funds to assist working families so that they can afford childcare and go to work. We have a childcare crisis in this state and in this country. There's like a 30 to 40% absence of a sufficient number of childcare slots so that people can have childcare safe and reasonable. Childcare agencies are likely going to be closing because it's a dual crisis. Working families can't afford reasonable childcare. Childcare providers can't afford to operate a business at the current rates. Some of the federal subsidies that came through some of the COVID emergency funds are going to be expiring.
Mr. Chairman, may I call for a point of order? This discussion has nothing to do with the resolution in front of us.
We're looking at allocating for the bleachers or for the grandstand rather than how.
So we're not talking about ARPA funds? I'm talking about ARPA funds. There are other things that we could do with ARPA funds, but you know, that comment tells me all I need to know about the reasonableness of the body to discuss things in a reasonable manner. And I withdraw my statement, and that's undue.
You wish to speak, Phil?
Talking about aluminum, are you just talking about aluminum to replace the wood that was there?
Yes.
Because when you say bleachers, I envision the whole thing.
Just the seats.
Yeah, the seating and then railings, and does that include a ramp as well?
It doesn't.
No, just the seating.
It's the seating and ramps.
It's a seating, from what I understand, a portion of a riser from the concrete up to the seating.
So we are gonna be drilling into the concrete.
Yes.
But they'll
Have to either way.
Yeah.
Have to either way.
See it in picture.
340,000.
Thank you.
Any discussion? Any other discussion on the issue? Well, Tony Hauser.
I'd just like to point out that, if we don't wanna put wood in, as it was proposed, our maintenance department will be installing them. And they figure it would take them 5 months. In addition to that, you lost the integrity of potential integrity of a new surface that we just spent $250,000 on that grandstand. This proposal here, funding includes installation by the contractor. So they're responsible for drilling into that surface and sealing it with epoxy, whatever else, to maintain the integrity of it. And if we have our own people do it, we can't be guaranteed that's gonna be as such. So that's what I have to say about it. I mean,
Thank you. Anyone else? Anyone else? No, we vote at the present time. The vote is 17 yes and 2 no. So the resolution is adopted. At this time, the chair will call for a closed session regarding Marshfield Clinic Health Systems Clinic pursuant to Wisconsin Stats 19.85, paragraph 1, paragraph E, deliberating or negotiating the purchasing of public properties, the investing of public funds, or conducting other specified public business whenever competitive or bargaining reasons require closed session. You can vote on the vote to go into closed session. Vote 19 yes, so we will go into closed session.
I don't normally do this. About 5 months is not what the maintenance department said it would take to have them be the ones to install the wood. You can always go and check that out on the extension meeting's recommendation from the maintenance person that was there. And it is sure tiring when we have members on this board who will give downright bald-faced lies in a meeting. That is not what happened at that meeting, and that is not what our maintenance head said in regards to how long it would take. Whether or not this is something that should be passed is one thing, but lying to the board is quite another.
Okay, with closed session behind us, we do have one announcement here, and I'll ask Ashley to give us some update on that.
Okay, so if you can mark on your calendars, we're gonna have a special board meeting Monday, October 2nd at 6 p.m. to discuss the treatment court. And we will have 2 visitors here with us, Chief Judge Boyle from the 10th District and Mr. Ross Munns, who's the administrator for the 10th District. That is on this coming Monday at 6 p.m. Then on October 11th at 9 a.m., we are doing a guided tour of the Trumpereau County Jail. If you want a ride down to Whitehall, you need to be here in the Sheriff's Office at 7 a.m. And I encourage all of you to attend. We'll be walking through the jail, through the booking process. You'll learn about what each part of the jail is, why it needs to be located where it is. It'll be very informative. And then at 2 o'clock that afternoon, the ad hoc construction committee will meet back in Ladysmith at 2 p.m. I would also like to say that the Forestry Department and the Parks Department was successful in getting a $630,000 grant to continue work in the Weir Gore area for ATV, UTV trails. That is a huge thing for Rusk County and for tourism and for our Parks Department. So a shout out to our Forestry and Parks Department here. Thank you.
Anyone else? David?
I don't know if this is an announcement or not, but, you know, we come together as a body. We have different ideas, different opinions. Sometimes we have even contentious disagreement, et cetera. But when we leave this place, we still continue to have respect and concern for one another. So I just know that all of you would join me in saying, Al, you are on our prayers, and we hopeful for a positive outcome. And I just wanted to make sure we all feel that way and tell you that. So thank you.
Thank you. Yep. Anyone have any other announcements? Not? In order to adjourn. All those in favor signify by saying aye.